Jasmine-Cannick. I'm a KFI listener, and I also work in the media here in Los Angeles.
All right, so tell me about where you're just coming from.
Okay, so today, obviously, is the first day back on the air for John and Ken, who at KFI, who were suspended for making a racist remark about Whitney Houston. A group of African Americans in media, we just had a meeting with KFI's management to have a discussion about sort of the ongoing disrespect of African Americans on the air as it relates to not only John and Ken, but from the Bill Handel show all the way through the Tim Conway Jr. show. What we tried to point out to, and hopefully we pointed out to KFI, was that when you have 14, well, first of all, when you're the #1 AM radio station in the country and the #1 radio station in the Los Angeles market, and you have 14 shows and 13 of your hosts are white men, and you only have 1 female and no African Americans and no blacks in your newsroom, it creates and fosters an environment where you can call a black woman a crack hoe on the radio because there's no one around you who's going to tell you anything different. And so right now KFI is not living up to Clear Channel's statement of diversity in terms of what their corporate parent company has said that the company was to reflect when it comes to diversity. And so we're basically asking KFI to sort of step back and take a look at what it's doing to display and show diversity. And by not having any African Americans and not having very many women inside of their structure, it's fostering that environment, and that in order for them to make some systemic changes, they're going to need to take a look at how do we bring in more African Americans, how do we incorporate more women. And so we wanted to sit down and sort of strategize with them around that, and we gave them some really great ideas. You know, one of the things we said was you need to start bringing in African Americans as fill-in hosts. You need to bring African Americans in to produce the news, to read the news, to be engineers. I mean, African Americans can contribute to KFI. And in terms of the Clear Channel parent, their family, we are a huge part of their market. We listen to Hot 92 here in Los Angeles. We listen to Kiss FM. We listen to Coast. And you know what? A lot of African Americans are very unhappy about John and Ken's comments. And you know, we join in with Whitney's global fans who are not just black, who are white, who are all races. And we don't, you know, we want to see KFI succeed. I love KFI. I listen to KFI every single day. But as a black woman, I can't be conflicted. I can't want to listen for the politics, and then at the same time I have to hear, you know, the jabs at my race, the fat, black, lazy women. I'm tired of hearing all of that, and I think KFI needs to make some serious changes, and we want to help them do that. I know I do.
Who did you speak with upstairs?
You
don't have to say names, but
general manager and the program director, as well as the marketing director.
And just can you specifically maybe address anything that did they make promises?
We got 72 hours. Basically, within 72 hours, they're going to come back to us and let us know what are some of the first changes they're going to make. We definitely want to have some black women go on the air with John and Ken.
Now, as far as the extension of the suspension, was that addressed?
No, we didn't speak about that. We're looking at, again, changing the culture within Clear Channel and KFI. You can suspend John and Ken for another 10 days, but what difference is that going to make as it relates to how African Americans are viewed within KFI and how their hosts relate to African Americans on the air? That, I think, is more important.
So in 72 hours, we're going to sort of reassess?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And you know what the wonderful thing is, you know, we have John Ziegler with us, who used to be on the air here at KFI. Come on up, John.
I remember him.
I remember him.
So talk to me. What are you doing here?
I was asked to be here because I know John and Ken probably better than anybody around, and I'm more than willing to tell the truth about who they really are. And one of the main thrusts that I have in this situation is I want the truth to come out about what's really going on here. The public doesn't understand what John and Ken really are. John and Ken are a business that is based on a fraud. And I personally believe through my own personal experience that John Kobylt himself is in fact a racist. And I'm coming from this from the perspective of somebody who is a free speech advocate, who's been on the air for many years in many markets, who doesn't like the notion of talk shows being getting in trouble for things that they say, especially when it's false claims of racism. But John Kobylt is a real racist. And I have a story to tell that I believe proves that. On September 11th of 2006, before I went on my show, which was at 7 to 10 p.m. on KFI at that time, I was doing my normal tease with John Kobylt. During the commercial break before that, I asked John, because he was railing on the Iraq War that particular day, which he had previously been very much in favor of, whether or not he had flipped on the Iraq War simply for ratings, because everything John does is for ratings, or whether or not he really believed that the war was wrong. At first, he screamed at me and said, "Oh, shut up, leave me alone." And then after a couple of moments of silence, he looked me straight in the eye, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, "John, no, I actually believe it, because trying to control Muslims is like trying to control black people. It will never happen. It's not in their makeup." I was stunned, shocked, and quite frankly frightened. When I went on the air, he and I got into a huge battle, which influenced the rest of my career at KFI, which went on for a little bit more than a year before we parted ways. John Kobylt is a racist. People need to understand that. He is not just a fraud who says things on the air constantly that he doesn't believe, which I, as a broadcaster, find offensive. He is somebody who I have seen personally is in fact a racist, and therefore when he makes comments like Whitney Houston being a crackco, you have to interpret it from a different perspective than somebody else saying it in a similar situation. And there have been many other times on the air, whether it's about TSA agents. I heard him do a diatribe which happened in 2007. It was October of 2007. I can send you the audio if you'd like. I've sent it to Jasmine, where he goes off on TSA agents at LAX about how stupid they are. Now, that wouldn't apparently be a racist issue on its surface, except when pushed as to why he believes this, he says, "I have profiled them. I see these people. I am scared by them. They are stupid." Now, when you look at the demographics of TSA agents at LAX and you put it all together, it's pretty clear what John was talking about. In fact, Ken Champeau, if you listen to the audio, was clearly frightened by this and pushed him off the subject matter immediately. So this is one in a series, a long series of comments that these guys have made, specifically John Kobylt. I think Ken goes along for the ride and for the paycheck, that have made, which I believe indicate a racist tendency. It does not belong on the airways. The public needs to know what really makes John and Ken tick, and this was not an isolated situation. These guys are frauds, they run a business, and I believe they peddle in racism for money, and it's wrong.